Hello and welcome to the All About Ability podcast. This podcast is sponsored by McKay Financial, specialists in mortgages and protecting your family's finances. Whether you're looking for the best mortgage for you or want to make sure you and your family aren't struggling if you're seriously ill or pass away, call McKay Financial on 0141 447 0290 or email advice@kyo-financial.co.uk. I will include this information in the show notes. Right, so we're back and we've got Kenny McKay here today. It's great to have you, mate. I've not seen you in years.
I know, I've been hiding, should I say. That's what happens when you have a baby.
Aye. I mean, you had a pretty crazy time to have a baby as well. Like, that must have been a bit of a life change for you.
It was mental, so we had the baby on January 22nd and we could hear that obviously the virus was in China. And you think to yourself, it's not coming here, man. The virus? Oh, no chance. And then 2 months later, you're knee deep and staying in your own gaff. So, with nothing to do. So I was really worried, actually. I was really anxious. My anxiety is bad at the best of times. But the first couple of months, isolation, he wasn't allowed to see family, friends. I really thought he was going to maybe feel the effects of that when he was older. Maybe when he was 2-3 year old, he was going to maybe not want to talk to anyone or not want to be near anyone. But he's been very, very good. We brought her mum into the bubble and her mum and dad into the bubble, and they got to see him all the time. So he's good. He's good that way. Then we get a wee break, obviously, when the lockdown finished. And we kind of got him around family if it was safe to do so, and now we're back in lockdown again. So it's been a experience, as I would say.
There'll be some journey to tell him when he gets older how that'll get about.
Aye, he's a corona baby. He was born in one of the worst years of our history, I think.
Yeah,
especially in my lifetime, because this has been brutal for a lot of people. Was obviously the people who are dying with coronavirus and their families, and the people who are dying with suicide and their families, and the people who are not getting their cancer treatments and all that kind of stuff. It's just a big catastrophe.
You would never have been able to imagine it going like this as well at the point. You know what I mean? It's like kind of mental how it's all come about and how we're here now, almost a year later, still kind of in the same sort of situation.
Aye, honestly, it is. It's mind blowing how crippled.
Yeah.
The UK's became,
and I was already
American that as well, but wrong choice of words here.
I was like, just for the record, being crippled isn't that bad. Anyway, if anyone's listening to
this, it's mental how polarised the UK has became on. It's mental. We've just crumbled.
Definitely.
The whole the whole world, and a lot of the Western countries, we've just crumbled, and it's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It's definitely been a very up and down kind of time, but you've actually done a lot during this time, which is interesting.
I've done loads. I had my operation. I've set up. Obviously, Flip the Mindset on Instagram, one of my biggest platforms, and I've been able to help a lot of people. People would phone me if they were going to commit suicide and stuff, and I would pass them on. Not legally or anything like that. I'm not a psychologist, you know what I mean? I'm not a mental health counsellor or anything like that. They felt I was a link to getting help and reaching out, so they would text me, I need help. They would phone me, they would tell me their problems. I would get them through it, help them get through it, and help them make that call.
Yeah.
Listen, you've nothing to lose, make the call. I done it, because I think that's because I was so open and honest on my platforms for the last couple of years. And at the start, when I was open and honest, a lot of people mailed me and didn't want to hear it. Do you know, it was bringing back memories to them. But in time, it helped people kind of get over their own problems. So they would phone me. And I remember one of them, they were sitting in a car, and they told me to talk about this. I can talk about it if I want. So they were sitting in a car, and what a great person they are. And they had loads of pills, and they were about to take their own life. Like, we've all been there, not all of us, but, I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
And so we had a great talk, and then I finally convinced them to get help, and they sent me a message a couple of weeks ago and says they want to come on the podcast and tell their story, because it's a very unique story of what's got them to that position. But what happened was they decided not to. and they've reached out and got help in unbelievable circumstances. They've got, well, a bit of the podcast so that'll come out, they've got their kids back. It's incredible, you know, and I just think if I wasn't there, it might not have, if I didn't offer that on my social media, that might not have happened.
You obviously have this great want to help people, which is something I can really relate to, and why I started this podcast as well. But in terms of how that came about, I want to sort of take you back and see how this mindset developed, because it's something that I've always admired and how you come across. Even when I first met you, you could tell you had this sort of larger than life personality. So you've obviously been through a lot to get to this point. What was your early life kind of like for you?
Early life, you know, it's hard talking about my early life because obviously my brother and sister, my brother's now passed away. It was amazing. My early life was amazing, but we didn't have much. We were just council estate kind of kids, not an estate as such, just council house, and my mum stopped working to look after the three of us because I was mental, I think. I think when I came along, she was like, "Harry, I need to stop work," and it was crazy for her because, you know, she'd just been battered lumps out a bit by a previous partner. And she was timid, you know, she was fragile, but she was strong when it came to us, you know. She looked after us, she gave us everything. She used to save all year, just pennies, you know, what she had, you know. She would eat, I always used to look up at her sometimes and she wasn't eating dinner, or she was just eating a slice of toast. And it wasn't until I was a wee bit older I used to ask her why, and she'd give it all to us, you know. And watching that kind of breaks your heart when you're younger, you know. And then why she was having the toast is so she could save up all year to buy her Christmas. It was incredible. And
it's amazing.
We had a great upbringing, but to be honest with you, see, since the trauma of seeing my brother dead, I struggle to think about a lot of my childhood memories. And this is why I do a lot of meditation now, and it's a different kind of meditation. I just kind of sit and I try and think of memories that I had with my brother, my mum, my sister when I was younger, and only a few of them I can think about. I can't remember most of them, and it's that's hurting. But what I do is when I go home, me and my mum normally stay up to about 2-3 o'clock talking about memories and talking about times like that, and that's amazing because it refreshes my mind. I think, oh, did that actually happen? I thought I was just dreaming that. And but it was good. We didn't have much, but my mum made our lives rememberable. It was really, really good. Christmas was always a phenomenal time, you know. And I had an Annan and Papa that mean the world to me. And they used to look after us a lot, you know. Papa would invite us around for dinner 3 times a week and say, no. My mum, Sheena, she would say, Sheena, no, you're coming in here for dinner tonight, take a bit of stress off you, you know what I mean? And I just thought that was incredible. So we had a really good unit. And then, I went to Greenock Grammar, fantastic school. I didn't actually have much, I don't think I had much going for me until maybe primary 7 first year, where I started becoming really good at football, and I was really good at badminton, and it was sport. It was anything to keep me going. I was ADHD, so my mum refused to put me on Ritalin. Do you know what Ritalin is? The tablets that you take for ADHD. They can have detrimental effects. So she put me into sport. So that meant 3 or 4 sports. Wishing she didn't know, because I've got no knees now. So that 5 operations might not have happened. I know I'm saying that to you, I've got no knees. It was crazy. And I was just playing sport every night, every night after school, then at night time. So I would play football after school, then I would have football training at night, and I would leave football training half an hour early and go to badminton. And then I would go home, and I was just constant wanting to do things. Played the pipes, played the drums, and then football became one of my big loves. So
through playing all these different sports, what made football the one stand out to you? Is it something that you could achieve and go for?
I loved football. I think it was what, like, my brother taught me how to play football, you know. I always put a picture up on his anniversary of me and him in the garden, and the grass was like it was jagging nettles amongst the grass, you know what I mean, in the garden. And he taught me how to play, and it was always, I wanted to be like him. You want to be like him. I didn't have a dad. You want to be like your brother. And And yeah, football is what we get put into, and we had a nursery league king. I said in the podcast the other day it was 2 to 3 year old, but it was actually a 4 to 5 year old. We went in that nursery league, and it was that was the best thing you look forward to, running about with all the boys, handing up, catching the ball, and you were a striker and you shouldn't have cat, you caught it, you know what I mean? We were just breaking all the rules. You had fun, you know, and to be honest with you, I loved football up until it got serious. My actual love was probably badminton. I enjoyed badminton more than anything. I mean, I played constant, won so many competitions. It was just amazing, badminton. Even when I lost, I was happy. That's what badminton made me, you know what I mean? So I think football was just what football I was good at. Badminton, I couldn't have went to the level I went to. Well, I could, but I didn't see football. You want to be a footballer.
Yeah.
That's probably it. You want to be that superstar when you're younger, aren't you? And you want to be Ronaldo. And it was Brazilian Ronaldo at that time. And you just, that's what you want to be. You know, you'll look up to someone, you'll have the posters on the wall. I had Annan and Ronaldo and stuff, and you just want to be them. So I guess it was that, just kind of chasing your idols.
Yeah, because there wasn't really a platform for badminton at that time to pursue it, really, was there?
No,
football was the main sport.
Yeah. So I played football for the school team, and I played football, and then I went pro youth at 17. But when growing up, 14 to 18, I was in the Scotland schools badminton. I played in the Scottish Championships. I played down in Birmingham in the National Championships, and I was also in the Scottish Athletics team. So I had a lot of. I think I've just done everything because it kept my mind from, you know, I was ADHD, so my mind was constantly going, and I was constantly everywhere. So it kind of tired me out, I think.
I mean, it's totally understandable. Like you've definitely got this kind of mindset of wanting to do more, and that's something I sort of struggle with as well. Is you feel like you're constantly never doing enough. But with football, like as you're coming into it and you're getting to pro, what was your mindset like in terms of mentality of trying to get to the next sort of level and make something out of it? And then when did the kind of anxiety kick in for you at that point? Did it come hand in hand as you got more success with football?
No, that's a good question, actually. Really good question. I was the most committed guy ever. I mean, I was so committed with football. I mean, when I played for Morton, it was in the youth team, pro youth. I would be travelling, getting the ferry from my hometown. After school, I would run home, get ready, run to the ferry, get the ferry over, rain, hail or snow, it didn't matter. And we didn't have a lot of money, so I would walk from, you know, I didn't get lifts, I would walk all the way to Capello or to the way to the Battery Park, and I would train in the piss and rain. And then at night time training would finish, I would walk all the way home, soaked. I would have to get the Western Ferry. I missed the 9:30 one, so I would have to wait an hour and a half for the next one or whatever it was. Soaking in a wee wind shack, the waves would just come up and throttle you, man. It was brutal. And then I would get in the ferry, soaking, you know, get my change of clothes back on, and then I would get off the ferry and have to walk a mile and a half home, get soaked again. Then I would get in 12 o'clock at night, and then be at school the next day. It was brutal, but that's how much I wanted it. Back then, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, sometimes I was walking home thinking, why is this me? Why can't I just get a lift? Blah, blah, blah. But I was appreciative of the chance, and I think you just go through it, don't you?
Yeah.
Anxiety-wise, great question. Anxiety hit me when I had after my brother died, because I was numb for a while after he died. I went to the morgue. The main thing that changed my life and made me go through my breakdown and stuff was my brother died, fair enough. We went to identify him at the morgue, and something I'll never forgive the guy for. We went to identify him, and we've walked in the room, and it's a wee, I can remember it, it's a wee kind of chapel room with the wee kind of desk there. And he's lying there, and the sheet was not covering his feet or his face and shoulders. And it was me and my sister and my uncle. So I've walked in and I've seen his feet, and I'm thinking, something's wrong there. And the only way I can explain it is halfway down his foot. So the first half of his foot was pure white. bottom half, totally red. Total red, just like weirdest. I can't even describe it. It was just like they coloured in the bottom half of his body red. And I'm like, I'm just a wee guy that's never seen anything like that. My mum had sheltered me for all that madness, you know, she kept me away from that. And I'm thinking, and I'm full of life, you know, and I'm thinking, my brother's, who's been like my dad, bestest friend in the world, now like a shell. So all your faith, everything's just blown out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything about life, mortality, you know, it's just blown away. And I've went and I shouldn't have done this. I'm open and honest about it. It's horrible as it is. He's lying there and his face is there and his chest is all sunken. It was 2 weeks post-mortem we weren't allowed to go in. Chest is all sunken in. And people will be here probably seeing the same thing. And this pool at the bottom of his body. And his eyes are open. They've not even closed his eyes for us going in. Right? And his eyes are pointing up that way. And I'm sure I said this in my original story. So I've walked to the other corner of the room to look him in the eyes. I don't know why I've women done it. It's like I'm thinking, see when I think about it now, why have I done that? Yeah. I've went and I've looked at him straight in the eyes and the face, because obviously that's the face he dies with. Do you know what I mean? The face, it killed me. I had nightmares about it I had nightmares constantly about it, and that's what brought on my PTSD and all that stuff. I couldn't get his face out of my head of your idol. You know what I mean? Just shelled, and then I'm thinking about life and death, and it put me into a spiral of. I wasn't ready for it. Let's say that. My mum didn't want me to go and see him. She was pleading with me not to. But you're the son. I'm now the dad of the family. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going. Blow me away.
Did the injuries come about at the same point as that?
No. So after that, I turned into a wee bit of a different person. Depressed. I was really depressed and stuff, and I didn't see anything funny anymore. Do you know that way? Someone's telling a joke, and the whole room's laughing, and you're like, I didn't really find that funny. And then 10 seconds later, you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, is there something wrong with me? And then I lost my girlfriend of 4.5 years, so I had to kind of get myself back up, and I done that through piping. Right. I've not talked too much about this. I'm a bagpiper, and I play the drums, so I done that through piping. I was piping mad. Honestly, I was piping mad. I used to practice, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So I picked that back up because I'd not really touched it since I was playing Morton, and I'd started piping all the time. And I started for 6 months. I was numb. I was just playing PlayStation, depressed. Then I had to break down, and so I picked myself back up, and I got a phone call one day. And to be honest, these 6 months or longer, whatever it was, I was kind of, I was just going to the gym twice a day, training, going to my mate's house, not finding any jokes funny, back home playing PlayStation, escaping, playing pipes, escaping, just kind of escaping like a depressant that's going through life. Probably thinking about suicide way too much. And then I got a phone call off a boy called Stephen Mooney for Greenock Juniors, junior football, semi-pro basically, right? And he phoned me up and he was like, "Oh, Kenny, how you doing?" No, I says, "Are you playing now?" He knew I wasn't playing. He'd already spoken to someone that knows me. And he goes, "You playing now?" Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "I want you to come over and train, by the way. I've been trying to get a hold of you for ages, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, it's good. It feels like someone wants me." Because at Morton, remember, I get let go.
Yeah, of course.
So I'd fallen out of love with football, So he brought me over to training over in Greenock. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. There was a guy called Alex Wilson. Alec Wilson, and he was the chairman of Greenock Juniors, and he kind of became like a football grandpa to me, very, very close to me. He would pick me up. So at Morton, I was never picked up at all. I'd walked everywhere. He would pick me up at the ferry, take me there, get me something to eat, maybe take me to his house, get me something to eat, have a laugh with me, take me to training, take me home every time. Never walked, never done anything like that. And it was just that family. So I'm like, I'm accepted here. I've got something, and you felt good. So I used to give my all for that team. And 3 years with them, and 2 years with them. So it was 2 years with them. Sorry, I tell a lie. I'm getting my time frames mixed up. This is what I do with my anxiety. My brother died when I was at Greenock Juniors. So he died 2 years into Greenock Juniors, and I had to take a couple of months off. That was it. So when I went pro is when I probably really... Because see, when I was at Greenock Juniors the last year, I was playing for my brother constantly, you know what I mean? I mean, you're numb, you know, so that year is a bit of a blur to me, but it was a great year, you know. I scored loads of goals. Every game, every goal was for him, you know. After that, looking up at the sky, every goal's for him. So you don't become yourself, you're doing it for someone else then, you know what I mean? When I went pro, my anxiety started kicking in, not just in my football as a person. It started kicking as a person. So I was not dealing well with everything. I'd held things in for too long, and I was crumbling. Now, when you're playing football professional, I was still in Dunoon at that point, so I'm making a 340 mile round trip to train him. When you're doing that and everything's flying, everything's going amazing, and your knees start getting a wee bit sore, do you know what I mean? You start feeling this pain coming on, and it's making your running style and that change a wee bit, and then what does any young footballer do? You keep going through it. You don't listen. Bit knee pain, stuff it, you know what I mean? You don't tell anyone. So I got to a bit where they got a wee bit worse, and I had to take a couple of games off. Now, at that time, we were playing really, really well. We were challenging for the league. I was the main player. I was scoring all the goals. I was really, really, really struggling with my knee pain. And I took a couple of games off, and the manager made me feel like zero, made me feel so small. It always kind of upsets me this when you're talking about it, because it could have been so different. And I'm playing through the pain, took a couple of games off. I get made to feel like I was letting the whole team down, when I was just... I think they thought because a big boy like me couldn't have knee pain. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I'm a big, strong boy. Knee pain, I'll get up normally. Football has that. That's why mental health is the worst in football. I don't care what anyone says. They'll lie to you if they want. It's terrible. Really poor. I took a couple of games off, and I get back and I thought to myself, well, see, when you have that thing where you know your injury's going to wipe you out. Yeah. You know you're in trouble with your knees. You know something's wrong. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to whatever. If you need to get an operation, that's hard to keep going to training every day, and then you're maybe getting abuse for not playing as well because you're in so much pain. And then I just got more anxious, until the part where, because I had the first operation and I came back, I had that much pressure on me at that point where I didn't want the ball. I remember, you say when anxiety came in, I remember one game against Peterhead, and it was they were top of the league, and it was for us to go top of the league, right? And 15 minutes into the game, and it's raining. I can remember this, and all the lights are there and all that, and my anxiety took over. The lights are all bloody, I'm spinning, and I faked that I had a flu virus. I faked it to come off the pitch. Never forget this. This was it's hilarious to think about it now, but at the time, brutal. And it's actually quite worrying to think about it now, actually, as well, because of what I'd put myself through. I was really not in a good place, and every time the ball was coming to me, I was that scared to intercept the ball that my heart was pounding, and I would react later than the ball hit me. So the ball would bounce off me, and then I would react and go and chase the ball. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And that was awful. I felt so alone. I felt like the world. I could have come off that park and committed suicide that night, for a fact. Honestly, it was that bad. I was in that bad a place. And it happened a few times, Bonnie, and you're getting shouted at, you're getting abused, and other fans and players are giving you abuse, what's he doing and all that. The boy's just hitting off me all the time. And I think the boy came to me, and I just fell to the ground and just faked the virus. Doctor, they came, they stretchered me off. I'm in there, and the doctor's like, his heart rate and blood pressure's high, but that was just because I was so probably because I was so anxious, and that was an awakening. Sorry, I'm just blabbering there. No,
it's really interesting, because do you think that coaches and football are more aware of that now, or is it still the same as it was before?
Barry Ferguson talked about it in his podcast. He's a fantastic manager, and I've talked to a couple of his players, and he has that personal approach with the players, and he's there for them. You know, he's not just a coach. It's terrible in football. It's a man. It's everyone for themselves. And even people will come and maybe say, "Oh, he's talking rubbish." It's not that. They're lying. You ask any young footballer. Look, we're seeing footballers commit suicide all over the joint. It was 3 last week. Yeah. There was one for Man City after you let go and all that. People don't care, but it's created by football fans. Let's not be about the bush. We demand. We demand. You know, a manager's not playing well, he's sacked. So managers come in with that attitude. You're going to sack me. You're going to get me sacked, basically. And so if you are struggling, you know, 9 out of 10 times, they're not there for you personally. It's almost like they don't know how to be. And you won't really get a changing room where you might get the odd one. You want to get a changing room where someone will feel that the team and the manager and that's approachable, especially in professional football. This is why it doesn't happen. No one comes out as gay, no one comes out as, you know what I mean, seriously suicidal, because there's a massive precedence gets put on it. Like that David Cox came out, I don't know if you remember, David Cox came out from Peterhead, for Peterhead. He's a Glasgow boy, and it made the news. It made every paper about the suicide, and I thought, that's one player. Yeah. There's millions, do you know what I mean? Like, why is... So that shows you that how kind of untalked about it is.
So what do you think, what would be your advice to young footballers coming up now is to avoid like being able to express yourself and sort of avoid these issues that you speak about? Like, is there anything that you could have done back then that you feel like you look back at and you go, if I had done that, this might have been easier for me? And what you would say to them now?
Don't play through injury.
Don't play through injury.
That's my main one. Do not play through injury. I get hundreds of footballers from all levels, Premiership, Scottish Premiership to Junior, who text me all the time, how did you get through your injury? I'm getting pressured to play. How do I say no? That's a big one. Boy, actually, a couple of weeks ago, I'm getting pressured to play. Don't know how to say I feel like I'm letting my family down, feeling like I'm letting everyone down. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't be the case. He's playing through a ridiculous injury. There was another boy who done it and then mailed me and said, I've played through my injury and now I've got an ACL. Well, he's ruptured his ACL. The doctors are actually, here's a story for you, the doctors are actually going to try and find out when I ruptured my ACL. They've got a feeling that I've played and I've came back sooner than I should have. So what they've missed is an ACL rupture in my knee surgery. So see, when I went to my surgery there and got my whole patella reconstructed, they says, Kenny, you've got a ruptured ACL too. Or you've had a ruptured ACL, and they says it looks like you've healed it yourself. Now that makes me think, if I played through that, all the cocodamol and all the painkiller drugs I was trying to take, or when has that happened? You know, and that thought, so don't play through your injuries, because doesn't matter what manager's pressuring you, it doesn't matter what, do not play through your injuries, because at the end of the day, it is football. It's called, you know, it's like a lonely game. Everyone's in it for themselves. Even though we're a team, every player will snitch on you. And most players will snitch on you a second to get your contract. Do you know what I mean? They have to live their life. If they get sacked, football moves on. What, a week in Tenerife, you know what I mean? It's so quick. If you get, so when I was injured, manager just goes, no, we're not getting him paying for an operation for him. We'll need to get that through not paying for an operation for him. We'll need to get that through the NHS. 2 days later, they go out and buy 2 new strikers. You know what I mean? It just moves on. You're forgotten about it. So you can understand the attitude, but we need to fix it. Like, players, if you play through that injury, your career's ruined. You know, I'm not saying I would have been a superstar or anything, but I could definitely have played for, you know, I had great contracts in for me. And there might be a wee young player there who plays through his injury, gets injured, can't play again just because and the manager goes on to coach all his life. So he's listening to that manager, got pressured, career's over. Everyone just goes, oh, he's chocolate. Oh, he's just injury prone. No, he's played through it. How do you know what happens behind the scenes? But I don't think that's helped, especially at top level, because fans take a big... anything can be, you know, silenced these days, can I?
Yeah. Do you think from an individual player standpoint then it's better to actually kind of be a bit selfish that way then?
100%. You have to be selfish. Yeah. It's what agents will tell you. And that's why football managers hate agents. Honestly, you can see it more when you revise it. Football managers hate agents. Your agent will go, no, he's not playing. You're not playing through that. and the football manager will fall out with the agent. You know what I mean? My agent was falling out with as well. You know, my agent was brilliant, John McMaster, who was in the UEFA Cup with Aberdeen. You know what I mean? Phenomenal. And you know, you listen to them. They've always get you. You know, they're working for you. They want to. Yeah, they're making money, but they want you for the long haul. And listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Because I'm telling you, your career will be over in a second.
So you move into, like, once the football career, you're starting to realise, like, these knees are getting too bad. This isn't going to be a long-term thing for me. I'm going to have to think of something else. You get into bodybuilding and PTing. What was that transition like from being like, I'm going to have to admit to the fact that my knees aren't up to this, and I'm going to have to move on from this? And you obviously went into a totally different kind of career, but almost with the same sort of principles of work ethic and drive behind them. Do you think that's why it worked out so well for you in terms of going into that field of PTing and being a bodybuilder and doing those things?
Yeah. You know, I've always had that mindset. I'm all or nothing, and I want to give everything full for me. You know, I think the transition was weird because I would have kept playing football. See, at a point when I knew I'd been kind of let down by the system, by the managers and stuff like that, I then just says, right, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it in football. I'm going to make it. So I went to Queen's Park with Gus McPherson, phenomenal guy. And I was all set on making it. I was giving my all, and I was going through a lot of pain. And then almost kind of your mindset gets so strong, and you're so happy playing in a new club that you kind of forget about it all. And then I go so hard in training one day and just snap my leg totally. I was loving it, you know, we were ready to go again. I felt amazing. So the transition was kind of when the doctor says you'll never play again, you know, you'll never play again, basically. So I think I'd done 4 rehabs from surgery. This is my 5th one, right? It's 4 rehabs. So in them 4 rehabs, I started just falling into the gym. You're in a gym constantly. You're on the bike watching the players train. You're just doing sit-ups, and then you kind of go, right, well, I actually like feeling this. It feels good doing 100 press-ups. And then I'm going home and I'm saying, I'm feeling good. Why am I feeling good? And it's the physical exertion. And I kind of fell into it. Every rehab, I got bigger, musclier. So when I came back to Annan at one point, I had some set of guns on me just because I had nothing else to do. I was that depressed. Yeah. I was that mentally ill that I'd seen a psychologist and everything, you know what I mean? I was ill at one point. And the gym just felt amazing. I felt accepted. Everyone's at the gym just together, teaching each other, and we were all like, oh, right, do this exercise, right, okay, I'll help you there. And I thought, right, I'm quite good at this. I'm getting in good shape. I know what I'm doing. I'm watching loads of YouTube videos on bodybuilding. I thought, quite good. What happened is, when my football, when one of my injuries happened, I was playing really well at the time actually, but one of my injuries happened. I took a wee bit of a downer. I was really down. I can't remember exactly when, but my nan and papa says to my mum, get him his course, personal training course. Yeah. So I would never have became a personal trainer if it wasn't for them. So they got me a course, and it was about $4,000. Honestly, my papa says, no, get him it. He's been through enough. He's been through everything. They've seen my commitment. Do you know what I mean? They've seen my dreams kind of crumbled, and I give everything, and I never felt sorry for myself, but I was down. I was really bad. And he gave me it. So I go up to stay with my mate Kieran Higgins and his flatmate Ollie. And they go, yeah, you can stay with us, do your course, brilliant. So I'm up there staying, I'm travelling to Annie's Land every day from Needy Hill, doing this course, and I loved it. It was I done it with Pegasus Training, big shout out to them, they are fantastic. And I didn't just complete that course, probably the 6 months after, I just kept learning, online courses, kept like everything. I think what a lot of personal trainers do is they stop learning when they pass their course, and they'll keep going. So then I went and done a HND as well. So I think it was, I kind of fell into it. I think I fell into that, and then when they paid the course, they gave me a lifeline.
Yeah, you kind of fell in love with it.
Aye, think so.
That's a really cool story about how he did that and gave you that chance to be able to do that. It's very similar to how I got into fitness, actually. I just sort of stumbled upon it and done roughly the similar sort of pathway as to what you've just described. That it's interesting how things can just sort of fall on you like that.
It maybe you have to get put in that place to
Yeah.
recognise a love for something else, you know. And then it makes you think. I hate the saying everything happens for a reason, but I think sometimes there's always a reason and certain reasons why you're in a certain position for something else to come along.
Yeah.
And I was really bad, and my papa and Nana, they're the world to me. They mean the world to me, and my mum obviously. Them giving me that lifeline was
you know,
she's sad.
When I see you for the first time, I thought to myself, this guy looks like out of a movie, you know. And you're obviously really good shape, and you still are, obviously. And
not like that anymore. I've been eating too many pies, man. Christmas has killed me.
See, with bodybuilding, I was kind of interested in this. So, how come you never competed with bodybuilding?
I don't like the dancey posy, man.
Yeah,
do dancey posy.
Yeah,
all that crap.
Did it just sort of feel superficial in a way?
I love bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fall in love with bodybuilding. When people talk about bodybuilding, I didn't fall in love with posing in competitions like crap, man. Arnold and all that, getting the ballerinas in to teach them dancing. I like that visually, and I like watching them. But it's not. I won't go and turn that on the TV.
Yeah, it wasn't you.
I don't watch Mr. Olympia unless it's the top group, and I just watch that to look at their aesthetics and their synergy and stuff. It wasn't me. And everyone used to say, "Oh, you're not the best bodybuilder in Scotland. You're not this. You're not that. You're just a guy that lifts weights." I never claimed to be anything. I just loved lifting weights, and I think people hated that. They wanted me to go and compete to show that, like, as if your size is only accepted if you go and win trophies. And I was like, no, I don't do it for that. I do it for this. It's therapy for me, simple. And it got too much. I was asked a great question yesterday about fitness addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It got too much. I was addicted. I'm eating 8 meals a day. You know, I'm pumping steroids at one point, and I'm lifting like 240 kilos on my chest like this. And people in the gym are looking at me going, this guy's nuts. And then it can put you in a really, really bad place. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a learning curve there as well. Do you know what I mean? That I'm going to try and teach people, and I think I'm going to bring out a wee episode talking about fitness addiction because, bodybuilding for me, I got to 23 and a half stone, which is ridiculous. I was walking upstairs sometimes going to my bed, my heart's going, and the missus is beside me going, why are you breathing like that? What have you been? Have you just been working out? I said, no, I just walked up the stairs. I just finished my oats and cottage cheese at like 2 a.m, like that. Waking up at 2, waking up at 4 to eat. It was, and that's just, I think, the ADHD and the stuff like that. I just need to keep doing stuff. And but I loved bodybuilding. I loved the weights. I loved the science behind it. You know, how our muscles grow, how our body adapts. I love everything to do with like creatine phosphate systems and stuff like that. I just got mental with it basically. I get right into it.
That's really cool, but it's an interesting point of how everything can get addictive eventually. Like you can take everything too far. Like
everything.
I've had that with the gym as well, where it's kind of like you obsess over how much can I do here. I think at the start of lockdown I was doing 2 workouts a day, both 2 hours long. So I was in the gym. I was in my home gym for 4 hours. Like every day, and then one day I woke up, my body was like just fell apart, and was like, "What are you doing here? This is going to drive yourself into a wall." But you mentioned doing an episode on addiction, so let's talk about Flip the Mindset and how this came about. Because to me, I've been watching your page, and see, since I met you, like I said, since I met you, I was like very struck by the way you looked, and was like, this is how I want to look. You look at you and you go, this is how I want to look. And it was really interesting we were talking about how Flip the Mindset came about, because to me, one of the things that strikes me about you the most is when you first started talking about your anxiety and things like that and how you deal with it. What was really interesting was that you know, if people were to look at you, they would just think this guy's. I automatically assumed that he's probably the most confident guy in the world. He looks exactly the way that probably 95% of guys, if they're honest, want to look like, you know what I mean? So that to me, when you talked about that, it struck me as this is we're not open enough as to what the perception of these things are. So do you think, did you ever have a problem with like actually admitting that and saying, look, yeah, you might think I'm this everything you want, but I've got a bunch of problems as well, and there seems to be this sort of too much emphasis on what you look like, kind of essentially.
Aye. Oh, it's great. Just listening to you there, I was getting lost in that there. That was great. No, you're right. You just hit a couple of you just hit it in the head there. I got that for years where I almost get tricked into thinking I couldn't talk about it because I was like going through school. I was head boy, you know what I mean. And then you're playing football, you're doing this, doing that, and then you start motivational speaking, and you think I can't talk about that. They're going to think I'm fake. You know, I can't. If I talk about anxiety, they're going to think I'm fake. You almost convince yourself you're indestructible when you're not. Mm-hmm. I was a mess. I think the great points you made there with, when I first started doing it, people talking about like my anxiety, my PTSD, I don't have PTSD anymore, but my anxiety, my depression, and everything that rocked me. People would literally go, "Kenny, you don't like? I didn't even see that." Mm-hmm. I goes, "How? Just because the way I look?" Like, it's like the most thing some people look at a bodybuilder and me goes, he's an arsehole. He just looks like an arsehole. And then they see me and they know that all I do is things for other people because I just care about humans. I just love you. I just think we care about each other more. I think in regards to when I started talking about things, I got emails off of footballers, bodybuilders, which gangsters, business owners, teachers, nurses, all talking about their mental health. And you know what I used to write back? Why don't you come out and say, "Oh no, I couldn't do that, no."
Yeah, well, exactly.
People are looking at me to do this, or people are looking at me to do that. Oh no, I say, and I'm like, why? Why is there such a big, and for some people there's a big ignorance to it. You know what I mean? No, I can't do that. He'll think I'm this. Or I can't do that. No, I'll play for this team. What? You know, and none of us are too good or anything to speak about stuff. So unless the problem is because you're really struggling to open up, or you're really insecure and you just can't find the strength to do it, then do it. You know, you do it.
It's very freeing.
And I've got many people on Instagram to speak out about their mental health more. I don't know if did you text me at one point saying I'd inspired you to speak out? Yeah, of course.
It was very
loads
inspiring.
Of people I've inspired to actually come out, and I'm looking at the pages every day, and I come out and telling people about their mental health. But I think we create it. Humans create our own demise, don't we? We make it that he's a Ranger celebrity. He can't come out and speak about that. No. And then if he does come out and speak about it, people will just slam him for it. And he's saying, "I'm not coming out and speaking again." Do you know what I mean? It's we create our own. Humans create their own pot to piss in, I think, and we've made it such a taboo thing. When I cry a lot. I might have been hard as nails and massive and bite your face off in a second when I was going through my troubles, but I would be home greeting into my pillow, greeting in my maw, cuddling my maw, felt best around my maw. You know, it's what you see on the outside is just not what's happening in the inside. I've had my arms round massive bodybuilders since I've opened up, and I used to do my Talk About It Tuesday at Costa, if you remember. Yeah. And I would go and speak to people, would just text me, and we would keep it anonymously, and we would maybe meet or go for a coffee if they didn't want it anonymous, or we would go for a walk in the park. They would just talk to me, and we would just talk about the problems, and I would just say, try and phone this number, or try and phone Chris's house, and get professional help, because I'm not professional. But I was saying, I had my arms around big bodybuilders who really tough guys, who just went to the gym for therapy and were so suicidal. You know, I've been on video call to influencers with over 200,000 followers who don't know how to be normal now, because on their Instagram they've made themselves into this person who's so far away from themselves now. Yeah. They've made themselves into this person who's got money when they work in a call centre. They've made themselves into this person who travels to Dubai all the time when it's not. It's pics from 2 years ago in Dubai. They've taken so many different outfits just to keep this profile up. They've not come out the house because they're pretending in Dubai for a week. so they've not come out the house so nobody can see them. That is serious.
Yeah.
Poor mental health for me. You know, they don't want to go outside because they don't look like they do on their Instagram pics, because they've created this selling product online. It could be a motivational person, it could be an influencer, someone who wears clothes and sells clothes and stuff like that. We've got serious problems. And I just wish people would come out and speak more.
Well, such a great point, and the way you put it is excellent. I think that the main thing that we need to recognise is that we're all human and we all go through these things. And difficulty and struggle and hardships are inevitable for everybody, just in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
The thing, because we all have the same feelings, like there's no different emotions, because we're all the same species. So that's the way of realising it is, yeah, we go through things differently, but we still feel similar emotions. And it's about being able to say, this isn't even, there should be no stigma with this. This is part of life, you know. And so going from that, you've created Fuck the Mindset and you start doing a podcast. Now, how did the idea for that come about?
Well, before that, go back to your point. He says we're all, what did you say there?
We're all different, but we go through similar emotions.
Yeah, you says it's normal. Now, let's talk about mental health as being, it's one of the most normal, it should be one of the most normal parts of life. Yeah. Like love or eating breakfast. We are all, everyone going through poor spells of mental health, poor minutes, poor hours, poor days, weeks, or even a bad month, you know, and people need to know that that's all right. It's all right. Someone said the other day on Twitter, just can't stop beating myself up today. My anxiety's crippling and I feel terrible or something like that. I says, it's all right, you feel like that for a day. You get your blanket around you and wrap yourself up and watch Harry Potter.
Exactly.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Do you know what I mean? I have days like that. And then it's about tomorrow or about maybe dinner time or whenever, we just try and get ourselves back up again. Have your cry. Have it out. And I think this is something we don't accept enough, you know. Acceptance is huge for me, you know. Accept it, right, okay. I've had bad news, I've had this and that. I want to have a cry, have your crying and move forward again. I think we totally, and as much as it's getting better, we are, mental health on social media and stuff, mental health awareness on social media, it's getting better. But you've still got too many people, especially influencers who go on and promote mental health, who are not for it. They're promoting a style or a kind of mental health that suits their profile. You know it's not them because you know them. You might know them personally. You know what you're doing. You just be you, because that again is their mental health being poor. The fact that they're wanting to do that, and we just need that authenticity. I think more with everyone. Do you know what I mean? Footballers should be coming out and speaking about it more. People who lead, people who a lot of people look up to. I think they are more accountable than me coming out and talking about it, because, well, me now with the platform I built, yes, but like Barry Ferguson came out and talked about his anger management, going and seeking therapy for anger management. About 100 and something people emailed me about that after the podcast. Do you know what I mean? And I thought that was, I says, what, did you not think Barry would have any problems? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes, no. He says, and one of them actually texts me and says, that's not true. Bet you didn't do that. So a guy's just opened up about going to mental health, and you've come in, even, I don't know, Rangers Celtic fan, doesn't matter, you've come in, you're a human, and you've just said, that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's what we're dealing with, do you know what I mean? So what I say is we need to stop listening to all the doubters, all the negatives people, and we need to be open and be proud of it. So the podcast, do you know, it was weird. I wanted to do the podcast for a long time. And I wanted to do it. I was about to bring out a podcast years ago. And it was actually not the way I wanted to go. It was about crime and all that. And when I had that thought, James Inglis came out. And he'd done it just before me, a couple of weeks before me or something like that. And I'm looking at it going, you fucker. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't have suited that. Crime and all that nonsense. That's not me. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, you know, I don't know what to say about that. But for me, it was, maybe I just wanted to do something to fill a void. When a couple of years later, when the podcast idea came about again, it was for a right reason, a good reason, and a reason to help people. I didn't just want clicks and views, and I didn't want to get famous, off other people's stories. I'm not into that. I wanted to bring celebrities or idols or just people in general down to everyone else's level.
Yeah.
Mentally, in a mental health way. I want to bring them down to the level and let my audience and viewers relate to them and react off them. That's what I wanted to do. Right, okay, so John Hartson, he's just like me. Well, he had cancer and he beat it. He's went through a divorce and he's came through the other end. He played for Celtic, and then, all right, so he's human. And when that clicks, I think that changes everything. So that's what I wanted to do. So I was going the wrong way, and I think that was just through my ego and through just, because there was a time in my life where I would post, and I only got like 100 likes on my Facebook, right? I would post a post on Facebook at a time in my life when I was really ill. So my mental health was poor. And if it didn't get over 100 likes, I would beat myself up that whole week and think about another post to get more than 100 likes. Doesn't matter what shit I was spilling. I would just research and whatever and talk shit. And that was poor me. And people do this every day now. You see it everywhere. Just clickbait posts. So that was terrible. That was one of the worst parts of my life, doing that, because you get a negative comment on that post and you're ripping yourself to shreds every minute of the day. Did he think that about me? Like, how can they say that about me? They just saying I'm not, and you just get so horrible feeling. And then, you're doing it for the likes instead of to help people. And I think that when I changed that, changed my life. When I started the positivity, it bred positivity. When I brought the good energy, I got good energy, like the law of attraction, you know what I mean? What I reaped, I sowed. So I think with the podcast, I actually get a text. I put it on my Instagram, and I got a text off a couple of people, and one of them was the main man, Paul, who's now my producer, and he's just a fantastic man. He's a fantastic guy, and became a good friend as well. So when I get a text, he says, "Listen, I'm producing." He says, "You want to maybe meet up and discuss a way forward for the podcast?" He said, "I like your stuff. I like the idea, flip the mindset. Like, you want to help people." I think he saw the authenticity in it. He's not a guy that messes about. And we done that, and the rest is history. I think we wanted to do it for the right reasons. I've helped thousands of people. I've helped people not commit suicide. I've helped people change their life around. I've helped, they've helped themselves, but I've gave them the inspiration to do that. And that's what I want to do. If you meet, I met someone in, what do you call it? George Square with the Christmas thing. So I'm out with Steph and my wee baby, and we're down. It was only George Square, and it was a bloody reindeer and a sledge or something like that. And there was lights in the building at George Square in Glasgow at Christmas time. Someone came up to me and goes, "I love your Flip the Mindset stuff. It's really helped me through hard times." And I nearly started greeting. Honestly, it got me so emotional. I just thought, that's why I do it. That is it. I had another guy, me and Steph were walking, and there was a group of boys. Right, and see when you're walking through Glasgow at like 11 o'clock at night, right? Well, a group of boys approached you, and they're like 13, 14-year-olds, and you're like, "Oh, they're going to take a piss, they're going to throw something." You know what it's like? Yeah. And the guy goes, "Oh my God, that's Flip the Mindset. That's Flip the Mindset. My kiddy, you're class for it, mate. Fucking this and that about tough times and all that." And you think, that's it. You want people going in, and you want people buying into it. It's not about money. It's not about anything like that. What we're teaching here is awareness on mental health. If you can get people raving about mental health awareness, if you can get people raving about someone speaking about anxiety and something from being honest, I think we're winning. So we need more people doing it, I think.
Definitely, and I think you've done a great job with the podcast. Every guest you've had on has been a great watch, and the point you're trying to put across, it really comes across from everyone you've done and what you're doing. I think that's the kind of vibe you get from you as a person.
I hope so.
And it got me kind of wondering as you're speaking about it. I was talking about how I felt when I met you and when I came in and I seen you and what it kind of done for me. But I was curious in the sense of, obviously, if you listen to this and you don't know that on the wheelchair, you're missing the whole point of this podcast. But I came in and
you're in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
I didn't even know.
It's all about ability. But the it made me wonder, as a trainer and just as a person, do you see many people in wheelchairs coming to gyms?
I was actually talking to a lassie who came in a wheelchair, and we had a great laugh.
What's her Snapchat?
I'll need to check my phone. No, she was great. She was great. She was sitting. I've just fingered that, innit? I've said she was sitting. Of course she's bloody sitting. What the hell? God, I'm thinking about that too much now. No, she was in a wheelchair and she was going on to the bike. I was like, and we were just talking. And I think it's important. It's like me, I'm used to the diversity and stuff like that. Like growing up, I was one of only 3 black people in my school. I don't see anyone differently. You can't do that. I don't think anyone that does is just an idiot. Let's be honest about it. They are an idiot. Black, white, in a wheelchair, not in a wheelchair, one leg, no legs. It doesn't matter. I think we're all humans. We all can give each other the same energy. We can all, we can all make a positive impact in the world. I don't think it's something that should even be viewed as different, but I think it is in a lot of cases, and that's why obviously you're doing this podcast. And for me, it's wrong, but there's so many people that view black people differently. There's so many people that view Chinese people differently. You know what I mean? We've got this horrible, humans have got this horrible nature of just identifying so many things as different, and it creates such divide, and I hate it.
Yeah, well,
but let's talk about it.
It's just about embracing difference, though, isn't it? Really, like everybody has that difference about them. There's nobody that's the same, and even just this conversation, when you think about it, we have 2 totally different types of ranges of ability level in terms of things like, see, obviously, I can't walk, you can. There's probably things that I could do that potentially you couldn't.
Absolutely. Don't say potentially.
Don't necessarily know what they are.
Take that word potentially and throw them in.
But the point is that we all have different ways of doing things. And it's like, I think when people see this kind of conversation between 2 guys that are maybe different backgrounds, different situations they've been through, but they've felt the same sort of, they've had the same sort of hardships and struggle, it kind of makes you, it sort of normalises disability in a way, and you go, that's not, the wheelchair shouldn't be the first thing that you see. Yep. The person should be the first thing that you see.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with any sort of mental health stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Even just, like you said before, the way you look made people think that's quite surprising. Because I was genuinely surprised. And also because I'm sure a lot of people look at you and go, this is the kind of look I would aspire to if I was in the gym and you were obviously like, if you were not in shape and you've seen you, and that would be your kind of aim, would be to kind of look like that. So the whole point of it is the perception of how people look at people and being able to open up and acknowledging the fact that literally everybody in the world is different, and then being able to embrace that,
Absolutely. I'm absolutely in agreement. We need to embrace it. I think here's one subject. Disability sport. We have a big problem with editors and sub-editors in journalism who, there was a debate I was watching a few months ago, and it was talking about whose fault it was, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, in papers, the buck lies with the sub-editors and editors. If they want to print a story, they will. There is journals who cover disability sport. There's thousands of them who are really passionate and write really passionate reports and papers. Give them to the sub-editors and editors won't publish them. I think people are influenced by what's around them, and we don't see much of disability sport or like disabled people in the paper all the time with their achievements. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We don't see much of it. So it's that way where there is disabled people who are in sport at the highest level they can play at, right? Who are breaking records constantly. Ridiculous records. I'm talking about, world class records, and they don't get in the paper for it. Do you know what I mean? To me, that's mental, and I don't understand it. And I think that with what's influenced around you, with everyone like reading the papers and all that stuff, and then you see a disabled person, I don't think they can. They think they can't relate for some reason.
Exactly.
And it's I don't get it. I shouldn't look at the energy in this table today. The best conversation I've had in months and years. And it's, I don't know. I'm very passionate about this kind of thing.
But that's what you said there was exactly correct when you talk about the fact that it's you don't actually see it. When I was younger, growing up, there was nobody on the telly talking about what it's like to be in a wheelchair or any kind of thing like that.
It was if it was like deemed inappropriate to talk about and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
See, even when I started doing the podcast, there was a lot of like reasons pointed out to me there's reasons why people with disabilities don't really do podcasts, and you might be putting yourself out there to talk about in the sense of like we're not really given the fair shot. So it's almost like you're discouraged right from the off because you think nobody's going to listen to me because they don't even want to. We're not given any kind of coverage. You talked about sportsmen being on. I know people that have won 5 Paralympic gold medals in the skin, and you're like, how are you not sponsored by like everybody?
No funding.
Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like last 2 years, I've managed to win the Players Player of the Year and the Most Valued Player of the Year for premature football.
Oh man,
which is great, and I enjoyed it. And then you go and you get to the Scotland scene, and you manage to captain the team once, which was amazing. And I just thought, why does nobody know what is going on here? Like, there's no coverage, there's no voice, there's nothing being said about it.
Brutal. And then I bet you when the Olympics come around, they'll be all over it.
Exactly.
As if they're doing a good thing. It's disgusting.
I think I would like to hope that platforms like this is where we can develop that kind of equalness, because you look at women's football, for example, they've worked really hard and now they're getting the coverage that they deserve.
Yep.
And I think for disability sport, we are sort of in the same journey, but the only thing that's held us back really is there's so many variations of disabilities that was trying to bring us all together so that we can fight for it together. Because no one else is going to do it for us.
Should you need to work really hard?
Exactly.
What? Do you know what I mean? Should you need to work really hard to get women's football and disability sport to the fore? Exactly. Should you need to? Like, what? It's all about cash. It's all about money, isn't it? And funding and people being ignorant. I think the world works in mysterious ways. I just can't believe. I mean, women's football now is still heavily degraded. From men, basically. Even I'm in pubs or when I'm talking to people or on forums or anything like that, most of them give not 1 ounce of respect to it. It's ridiculous. It's almost because we can't identify as something like, we can't imagine ourselves in other people's shoes. That we can't, because we can't relate to something, we can't support it, or we can't be empathetic to, or we can't embrace it, is the word I'm looking for. It's, for me, that's crazy. And it's a big problem. I remember reading a podcast, watching a podcast, I think actually Paul produces it. It's about, and she was telling a story about walking a mile in someone else's shoes. It's all about empathy and stuff like that. And I think it opened my eyes. Do you know what I mean? It's like, could we walk a mile with the burden of someone else's life? And the thing is, it would open, we couldn't, we can't, we don't, I'm so passionate about this, it's killing me, it's ripping me open. I've got like 3,000 things going through my head here to fight the case. But I just think like, well, what could we do? What do you feel we could do to bring it to the fore?
Well, my main thing is, I used to think that it was everyone else's fault in the sense of like you have a big chip on your shoulder and you go, well, why is nobody advertising this? Why are we not getting like the same kind of coverage or any kind of coverage really?
Yeah.
And really thought there was nothing I could do about it. It's all their fault. But also, what I like to do now is focus on the things that I can actually do rather than focus on what's you have to take it bit by bit.
Yes.
And so looking at it from a point of view of what can actually help to change here, my thought was, yeah, but we need to believe it first. So as a group of disabled people, let's say, for example, just forget this is a sport I play in wheelchair football. As a group of people, we all need to be taken seriously and professionally and like eating the right stuff and training the right way and showing ourselves, working hard, showing like the public what it means to us as players and what it means to us as athletes and being together in the same pace to push through that barrier.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that you're going to get noticed, because racism didn't end because white people fought for it. Do you know what I mean? Like black people had to fight for themselves. Yeah. Women have to fight for women.
End is definitely not end.
I know, you know, so it's still a heavy issue, but all these different topics are fought by the group of which and we're not really doing that as a group. So it's trying to bring us together as a group and say we need to kind of tackle this head on in every area, but also on the flip side of that, to flip the mindset, so to speak, is kind of what do we, in terms of actual what the equality should be. I'm not asking for equal pay or anything ridiculous like that. I'm just saying let us show it. Like it's all about the way that you market things.
Yeah.
People wouldn't care about the Premier League if you didn't show, or if you didn't show these things all the time. Mm-hmm. So you could give us all I'm saying is we just want a chance. We just want a chance to be seen. Mm-hmm. And if you give us a chance to be seen, then it's about us taking that opportunity. So all I'm trying to do is build it up so that when the opportunity comes open, we can all take it together.
Phenomenal. No, I think that's phenomenal. I can actually just imagine like a group of your football team in the wheelchairs, all with a rock, with the head shaved and all that, ready to go. No, I think that's phenomenal. Phenomenal points there, and I think bring it to the fore yourself. Make the stand, fight it. I hope that would be recognised for sure. You need the respect, you need the appreciation, you need it to be embraced. It needs more TV time. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be in the papers more. These young journals who are writing about disability sport or anything like that. The disability world need to be working harder as well to bring it to the fore. The sub-editors and editors have to get their finger out of their arse. Do you know what I mean? God, I don't buy papers anyway, but I would rather go online to see a fair, fair broadcast of everything instead of having to go in and search it and then find it and then go through articles to find something. I think a wheelchair doesn't define. So in your wheelchair doesn't define you. You can be defined by being Player of the Year and stuff like that, and some of the achievements you've done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what we bring to the world defines us.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Not fucking being in a chair or me having terrible knees. You know what I mean? I've 5 knee surgeries, and I've struggled with chronic pain for years, and painkiller addictions because of that. You know what I mean? That doesn't define me. What I bring to people's lives defines me. Do you know what I mean? My mental health doesn't define me. You know, I'm not scared to go to a psychologist. Since I had 2 appointments with a psychologist years and years ago, and I'm not scared to go back in case they put me in a bloody they say I'm a psycho or something like that, you know what I mean? But that's true, because you can get defined. Someone goes, why have you not ever been back to psychologist, or why do you not go? And I says, if I end up going back, and it's a thing that I'm going to do recently, because I know that's me kind of going against my own moral. If I go back and say everything that's in my head, it will change the mindset as a business or as a platform. Or or if make it come out that I was psychotic or anything like that, you know what I mean? Bipolar or something, people look at you differently straight away. It's mental. Us humans, people go off. It might take out bipolar. Don't listen to him. That's it. But you know what I mean? We're terrible. We create our own. Humans are just we're the best and worst thing to happen to this planet.
Well, very well put, to be fair. I think we've covered a lot of interesting subjects, and I think when we talk about disability, having someone like yourself on helps really raise the awareness and the platform for that, so I really do appreciate it. I feel like we could talk for another 4 hours here, but you know, people have places to be, so I really appreciate your time. I think I had a lot of fun. It really flowed, and I knew from the moment I met you that I could tell that we got along. But as you met me, I was kind of going through some things, and we've obviously been on our own journeys. So
yes, trying to change the world.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing to be sitting here with you, given where we're at now and what we're trying to do, and it was a pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely. I hope we can, pleasure to be on, and I hope we can maybe collab and do something to raise more body awareness.
Of course, mate. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
That would be class. Thanks, man.
No worries, mate. It was a pleasure.